What is going on, everyone? Mitesh here, and this right here is the Pixel 3 XL. This is definitely not the phone that I thought I would be picking up in 2019, but after making so many videos about the Pixel 4, but not wanting to shell out the money that it costs to buy a brand new Pixel 4, I decided to pick up this thing when I saw it on sale for like $340. Now, it is a used phone, but at $340, I think it is definitely worth a pickup. So when I saw this, I had to get it just to know whether this phone is still worth considering in 2019, because let's face it, a lot of people are buying the Pixel 3a and 3a XL. In fact, it is the #1 bestseller on Amazon again. So a lot of people are definitely interested in what the Pixel phones have to offer, but they want it at a lower price. And the Pixel 3 right now, you can get for a lower price if you're willing to buy it used, because I think at this point, no manufacturer is selling it brand new. But if you're okay to buy a used phone, I think this is definitely worth buying over even like the Pixel 3a, which you can get brand new for about the same price. I think because of the processor in here, it's worth getting this over that. So in today's video, I want to do a little overview of this phone, because I know nobody ever talks about this phone anymore, but everyone thinks of this phone as a complete failure and you should not even consider it, but I think it's still worth considering. So today I want to go over the specs, because let's face it, you've probably forgotten about them, and talk a little bit about the phone and what makes it maybe special to what makes it maybe a bad phone to pick up. So let's get into it. Alright, so let's just start off by talking about the specs, because this is one of the more controversial parts of this phone. Now, it does have a Snapdragon 845, which is the latest and greatest last year, but it only had 4 gigabytes of RAM, which is one of those things that really made this phone just perform a little bit under people's expectations. And phones like the OnePlus 6T were giving you 8 gigabytes of RAM for a lower price than this, so it really felt weird that Google was going the route of just having 4 gigabytes of RAM. Now, of course, you know, they do have software optimization, but even then, people found that this phone was not very good at multitasking. So that is definitely something I'm going to be testing out. I'm going to make a separate video about this, about the performance on this phone and comparing it to the OnePlus 6T to see how it really ranks out on that. But yeah, that is one of the real downsides of the phone, is the fact that it only has 4 gigabytes of RAM. Now, of course, if you're someone who's looking at like the Pixel 3a or 3a XL, they also have 4 gigabytes of RAM with a slower processor. So this is definitely a better option than those phones if you're looking at mid-range phones. But if you're looking at flagship phones from last year, this is still one of the ones with less RAM than the other phones out there. So that might cause you some issues, and like I said, I'll go over that in the performance video that I do later on, but that is something to know. Now, of course, one of the more important specs on this, of course, is that camera. This camera is legendary. Pixel cameras have always been fantastic. It doesn't matter what the hardware is so much, but this phone can just outperform most phones, even with dual or triple cameras, because it just takes better pictures, and that's really what it comes down to. So if you're someone who's interested in photo taking, this is a great phone. Now, I've really been putting the camera through its paces over the last week that I've had it, and I gotta tell you guys, I remember why I always buy Pixel phones, and it's for the cameras. It's so good. It is so good, especially when you're taking pictures of like people. Like, they just look so much better on this phone than they do on any others. I just can't explain why it is, because they're just taken in the same conditions. It's just the computational photography that Google has put into this phone is just better. Now, of course, this is 2019. We have other phones like the iPhone 11 that can do equally, if not better than this camera. And, you know, that is something worth considering. If you have like $300, $400 more to spend, which it's like double the price of what this thing costs. But if you have that money to spend, you might want to go with a newer phone. But if your budget is limited and you're looking at something around the $400 price range, this is the best camera you can get right now. Now, the Pixel 3a and 3a XL is also tied up there, but like I said, better processor in here, your photos will get processed faster and things like that, so maybe worth considering for that. Now, another controversial part of this phone was the display, and not the display itself, because the display itself is actually fantastic, but it's this thing right here. It's that gigantic notch. Now, this is only the problem with the XL model, but that is the one that I would recommend you get. Now, XL is not my choice. I would much rather have a smaller phone, but I would recommend getting the XL because the battery life on the regular version is just not as good. The battery life on the XL, not bad at all. I've had this thing for about a week. I've been trying it out, and the battery life so far has been decent. Like, it's not gonna win any awards, and especially since it's a used phone, the battery has, you know, degraded somewhat, but I would say that it's not that bad. Now, this notch, however, is, it takes some getting used to. Now, I will say, if you throw on a dark wallpaper, like, I rarely ever see the notch when I have a dark wallpaper on, because most apps at this point have a dark mode, and, you know, the bar at the top just doesn't matter. Like, for example, if I go to YouTube, you can see I have the dark bar at the top. Now, of course, if you watch a video, and especially if you watch a video that's been mastered in 18:9 like my videos are, you can see that some of your content goes over that notch. So that's not great. Even if you're not watching in full screen, it's gonna get into that notch territory. Now, if you're watching it full screen on any video, yeah, you're definitely hitting up that notch. It's something that's there. Now, For me personally, it hasn't bothered me too much yet, but I will let you know as I'm going on with it if it starts really annoying me or not. But as you can see, video watching on this is fantastic. The screen is also a 1440p display, and it's really, really nice. Now, as we're still talking about that notch, you can see and only in apps like this in Google Maps where you can actually even notice that notch. Otherwise, for the most part, in almost every other app, so if I open up Gmail, it's got a dark mode, can't see it. Chrome, it's got a dark mode, you can't see it. Basically every other app that I've ever used, it's just, you can't really make out the notch at all because you just don't see it anymore. Now, a feature of this phone that is fantastic is the fact that it's got dual front-facing speakers. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I'm a little disappointed by this, is the fact that the bottom speaker is just way, way louder than the top speaker is. So that is a little bit of a disappointment, but it is what it is. These speakers are still like miles ahead of what the OnePlus 6T can do. So if you're watching videos on this, it's just such a better experience. Now, one thing that I would have loved to see, of course, is a headphone jack, which this phone does not have, but the Pixel 3 and 3a XL do. So if you're really into the headphone jack, maybe those are worth considering over this phone, but otherwise, this is pretty good. Oh yeah, and one thing I forgot to mention with the fact that you have this ridiculous notch at the top is the fact that you also get dual front-facing camera. So you can switch over if you're using the selfie camera, you get this normal one, but then if you see the slider at the bottom, you can actually zoom out to get a lot more stuff inside the front-facing camera. So if you're taking group selfies, this thing is fantastic for that because it's got 2 dedicated cameras on the front side. Now, only a single camera on the back, which maybe have been a mistake, but hey, here we are. Let's face it, this phone still takes really great pictures, even with that single camera on the back. But yeah, that is one feature. Another really nice feature to have is the fact that it's got wireless charging built in. Now, I know this doesn't matter to a ton of people, but for me personally, wireless charging is just a really nice, convenient feature to have. I just throw this onto my wireless charger at work, and throughout the day, whenever I just need to top up, I just throw it on there, leave it on there while I'm doing work, and then pick it up whenever I need to, and it's all good to go. I don't have to worry about cables, unplugging, plugging in things in. It's not as fast charging, obviously, but it works fast enough. Now, of course, you still have that squeeze feature on this phone to bring up that assistant, but I gotta tell you, I don't find myself using it as much, especially since I've been on the OnePlus 6T. I'm just not used to it, and maybe after a couple more weeks, I'll get used to it again, but I just don't use it that much, especially since on Android 10, you also get the hot corners to bring up the assistant. I will say the assistant on the Pixel 3 is just way faster than it is on any other phone that I've tried, so I can say, turn on bedroom light, and there you go, it's done. You can also just turn it off from here. Assistant just way better on here. But yeah, so Assistant works really well with the Pixel 3. Really important thing I forgot to talk about. And so first of all, this phone only has 64 gigabytes of storage, which may seem a little low, but the reason why 64 gigabytes of storage on this phone is better than 64 gigabytes of storage on the Pixel 4 is the fact that you still get 3 years of full quality backups on this phone. So if you can see that message right there, I still have full quality backups until 2022. Even though the fact that I bought this phone used, because I have this phone, I can get free full quality backups until 2022. You can't even get full quality backups for free on the Pixel 4. So this is a really, really nice feature. And you also don't get this feature with the Pixel 3a and 3a XL because they just don't offer that. And we thought this was just because they're lower end phones, but I think they're just, killing that feature period of getting full free quality backup or free full quality backup. So that is definitely something that, really ups the value of this phone. And especially since you're taking photos that are really high quality thanks to that camera, it might actually be worth it. But overall, I still think that for some people, this phone might be worth getting, especially over the Pixel 3a and 3a XL, and maybe even over the Pixel 4, especially since the price of this is just way lower. So yeah, with that, that's pretty much it for this video. I will be making a separate video for the performance and the camera, so definitely be on the lookout for that. Make sure you subscribe so you guys don't miss those. And if you guys have any questions at all for the full review, leave them down in the comment section below, and I will be sure to answer all of those in the full review. So with that, that's pretty much it for this one. Like this one if you liked it, subscribe if you guys loved it, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye!